Welcome to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where today's top influencers and entrepreneurs on the rise share empowering stories and ninja tips to become the fuel that ignites a positive change in your life. Our guests don't simply coast through life. They don't let difficult situations stop them. They set big goals, keep their eyes on the prize, and they're joining us today to share insider secrets you can use right now to step into your power and live your purpose. Now, here's your host, Christy Ruffino.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast. This is Christy Ruffino, the host of the show. And today I have the honor of being able to introduce Anna Weselak. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you, Christy. I'm really happy to be here with you today.
Yeah, I am excited. We've known each other for quite a while. I don't even know how we first were introduced to each other, but I'd say it was like 6 or 7 years ago.
Maybe even more than that, but it's okay.
Possible.
We don't count years.
Yeah, no. And you were one of the authors in our Overcoming Mediocrity Courageous Women edition. And
That's
I know
correct.
that was a pleasure to work with you. And I got to know you during that journey, and we've stayed in contact since. So I'm happy to have you on the show.
Thank you. Happy to be with you. And thanks for the invitation.
Of course. Well, I am going to share briefly a little bit about you, so the audience has a little backstory on who you are and, why you are here right now. And then you're going to talk about your story and why you're so passionate about what you do.
Okay.
So Anna is the owner of Weselak and Associates since 1994. She is a certified facilitator of seminars and workshops using an assessment-based approach to help teams, managers, and entrepreneurs strengthen their communication skills and build stronger relationships. She primarily works with small to mid-sized companies to provide them with the tools and experiences that are typically available only to larger companies. So that's a great asset. So that is who you are on paper. You're going to share a little bit about who you are in true living color and why you're so passionate about your focus right now, your purpose, and how you make an impact for the smaller and mid-sized companies.
Happy to do that, Christy. And it's kept me doing this for over 27 years. So
Wow.
my background is a formal background, and education is in the field of education. I taught in public school. I taught in private school. I've taught school everywhere from preschool through graduate school, and still do some continuing education courses through the College of DuPage and other higher ed institutions. And so people laugh at me when I tell them I've taught preschool and even kindergarten, and they go, well, now you're working with adults. Well, it's not a lot different. We all want to know, when is the break? Are we going to have fun? How much longer do we have to sit here? And can we take naps? So it's still fun. And, I've learned over the years that everyone really wants to learn and wants to continue to improve themselves and to be better at what they do. So I did work in the field of education in my BC era before children. And then I took about a 10.5-year maternity leave to be a stay-at-home mom and raise my family. But even though I had intended to be a stay-at-home, I did a lot of community work, a lot of involvement in the community. That's where I started forming the habit of saying yes one more time, that yes, I would take on that position. Yes, I would take on that role. I would take on that leadership opportunity. And so I did a lot of work I learned a lot about those interpersonal relations that are so important in working in teams and working as an entrepreneur and with other people. So I eventually did go back to education for a few years. And then I had an opportunity to work as an outside salesperson for a small franchise company, and was totally out of my field, out of my realm, but I found out I could learn about the industry. But I learned a lot more. I learned about how to run a small business. I learned how to do networking, marketing, and sales. And that took me a long way in everything that I did It helped to improve my volunteer opportunities. And it really gave me the confidence to start my own business. And so I wanted to put together everything I did and have done to that point lifelong. Teaching was a piece of it. Helping others was a piece of it. Helping people be the best they can be. And so I met someone who was doing what I do now. And I said, that's what I want to do. And so I launched my own business.
Okay. You said that was what, 26 years ago, huh?
Yeah, it's getting close to 27.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So that's where you're at now. Could you maybe share a little bit of a success story around one of your clients?
That's a fun part about what I do. I have lots of those. Probably one of my most favorite stories is an executive team that I worked with. And it was a new CEO who came to this company. And he was getting into the opportunity to know his new team. And they really didn't know each other very well. And so he had met me before he took on the CEO position and called me and said, I'd like you to come in and work with our team. And they were a great team, great people, extremely competent, because that's my favorite kind of client, are people who are doing well and want to do better. And so as I observed the team, they had great strengths individually. Collectively, they just weren't clicking because they were still kind of working in silos. And so it wasn't until we could work with the team long enough that they could see how they interact with each other and how they're all a part of the bigger picture. And they're all moving parts that go into that picture. And they're all an important part. So if they have an event going on, they need to bring in the finance people. They need to bring in the program people. They need to bring in the development people. Everybody had to be a part of it and see that everything they were doing really did have an effect on everyone. That was the glue that brought that team together.
And then what was the final outcome?
The final outcome is that they have won awards for being one of the best places in Illinois to work. They have decreased their turnover on that team, and they are happy to be there and happy to work together.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I love hearing client success stories, because that is for me, a great way to kind of visualize what it is you do, who you serve, how you help them, and how you make a big impact in the lives of your clients.
Yeah, and the fun part is that the work that I do is not industry specific. So I've had the opportunity to learn about lots of different industries. I have clients that are in the medical equipment field. I have nonprofit organization. I have some education organization clients. And so, the people side of our businesses is pretty much the same no matter what. We might call positions different things, but it's the same organizational structure. So I've had the great pleasure of learning about lots of different companies and organizations that I've had the opportunity to work with.
Great. Well, what we're going to be talking about in the second segment of the show is about teamwork and taking your company and just having it be more successful through some of your strategies. So if you can hang on just a moment, Anna, and audience, hang on. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to dive into some great ninja tips.
Okay, great.
I know. You hear us asking you to subscribe, rate, and review, but what does that really mean? Is it really that important? Well, if other podcast hosts are anything like me, they've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into their show. And personally, I get really discouraged when I have something great to share and no one is listening. Beyond algorithms, ratings and reviews are critical for a show's sustainability. It goes way beyond fanning the flames of our egos, or by getting a little that a girl pat on the back. Reviews create social proof and prove that our show has an engaged and loyal following. So if you like our show, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review. And while you're at it, pick up one of our Overcoming Mediocrity books on Amazon. You'll be glad that you did. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is Christy and Anna, and I'm excited to be able to dive into some of these strategies with you all. I know, Anna, you mentioned earlier about the fact that you've worked with a lot of different companies. And I know from being an entrepreneur and a small business owner that we have to wear many hats. And there's, I'm sure, a laundry list of strategies for every different component or every different hat we have to wear, right? Whether we have our marketing hat on, or we have our sales hat on, or our human resource hat. There's just so many aspects that we have to make sure are covered either by ourselves or by somebody else. And so that being said, if you could kind of focus on, or if you could encourage our audience or a small business owner that's in our audience right now to focus on one thing, what would be the most critical thing that they would want to start working on?
That's a great question, Christy, because, sometimes starting a business, being an entrepreneur can be really lonesome, but you really are not alone. You have, first of all, individually, a lot of strengths, and some we don't even recognize. And so being able to play off those strengths and using what strengths we have to help build our business. And our passion is a part of those strengths, the passion that we have. The way we get into what we do because we like what we're doing. And so we also have to like ourselves, and liking ourselves by knowing what we're good at, and also understanding how to work more effectively with the other people that we work with. Even if you don't have any employees, you work with other people. And if you have a need and it's something you're not good at, you've got people around you who will support you and help you. And you can outsource and you can hire people that will help you. And so thinking that you're at this alone is probably one of the scariest parts about starting a business or being an entrepreneur, until you stop to realize all these other people are around you. So once you know yourself better, you get to know others better, how they can help you and work with you. Everybody becomes more productive, your business becomes more productive, and you become more successful.
So I like the analogy about having a ship and being the captain of a ship. And it really makes a lot of sense, because I don't think anybody, no matter how skilled you are in sailing or, being a captain, I don't think anybody's going to head across the ocean by themselves. And it's so true that if you, as the captain of your ship or your business, aren't doing what you can to be complete yourself and like you said, recognize your strengths. And I love how you brought to light that our passion is a strength, because I think so many people discount their passion or think, oh, I can do it, but they have no passion for it. And if that passion isn't there, then I feel that's one of the most critical strengths that somebody should have when they're pursuing something in their career, don't you?
Sure. And using your ship analogy, no matter how big your ship or your boat is, you don't even have to be crossing oceans. You still may need somebody to help guide you across that pond or lake or down the river. There's very few things that we can be fully successful at by going alone. And especially right now, with so much having gone on in the last couple of years, we're feeling disengaged, and it's time to re-engage and, recognize how well we have done through what's happened around us in the last couple of years, and to take that and embrace what we have gained from it and use that to help move us forward. We've had to pivot, we've had to shift, we've had to do things differently. Some people, have had to kind of redo all that they've done, but I've seen so many who've come out stronger for it. And so celebrate those successes.
Yeah. And you know what? It's one thing to go through these changes and, like you said, pivot. We all know the word pivot, right? I think that word is something that we hear it probably 50 times more than we ever heard it before.
Kind of along with the word Zoom.
Zoom. Yeah, right. And it's Zoom is like now an action word. It's a verb. It's a
Right.
noun. It's everything. So now, 2 years later, we're in a place where most of the world is pretty much back to normal, but yet we're not. And we may think, well, we're back to normal. Everything should be fine. I still feel that there's like a complete shift in the landscape of our lives now. And then we give ourselves a hard time thinking, well, things are back to normal. Everything should be fine, but they're completely different.
It's sometimes called the new normal.
Yes. The
So
new
we've had to
normal.
adapt. I mean, it's all, we talk about change, and change is inevitable. Well, it was definitely inevitable the last couple of years.
Mm.
And it wasn't a change we were seeking, but sometimes change doesn't, we don't seek change, but change seeks us. And
Yes.
so it was something that we all had to do. And we have changed. We are not the same people that we were in March of 2020, when we thought we'd have to close down for 2 weeks.
Mm.
And so,
Yeah. 2 weeks.
yeah, right. So, we need to recognize we are different, and it's not, and different equals difference, my favorite formula. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just different. And so it's really time for us to take an opportunity to take a look at ourselves deep inside and say, okay, how am I the same? How am I different? Are my strengths the same? Are my priorities the same? Am I moving in the same direction? So, taking that opportunity to look at ourselves inwardly, as well as how things are producing and moving forward in our own companies.
Absolutely. So and I'm sure I'm not alone in this thought, but I am a firm believer that we were all created for a specific purpose. Now, the purpose may shift as our seasons change in our life, but I feel that if we're doing something that isn't in alignment, and we're not using the strengths that we have gained through our experiences and through our innate abilities, that we're not necessarily able to follow our purpose. And so if somebody right now kind of feels completely lost and not quite sure where to go, what to do, how does somebody identify their strengths so they feel that they're able to reach that potential that they know they should be doing?
It's a great question. And I think a lot of people are going through that. They're reinventing themselves.
Yeah,
And
the new normal, right?
right. So in the work that I do specifically, I use a lot of assessments. I use an assessments-based approach, which are very non-threatening, which allow people to understand where their strengths are, where they have room for improvement. We all have room for improvement. Sometimes we don't even know what they are. So it's just an opportunity to get deeper insight into ourselves. And once we can see that, we can open up that narrow focus that we may have and see other opportunities that are available for us. Sometimes we focus on a job and not a career or an industry. So we kind of need to get that job out of our mindset and open it up to, yeah, I really like working with people, but I really don't like this sales position. Well, what else can you do to work with people that's not necessarily sales? Maybe marketing is a better space for you, or managing, or something different. So we don't have to feel stuck in what we do. And as entrepreneurs, I've had that experience of, 1 minute you're the bookkeeping department, and the next minute you're the shipping department, and the next minute you have to go out and make a sales call. So we have to be pretty nimble as far as entrepreneurs and business owners. And so being able to understand what we're really best at and doing that for the primary part of our time is important.
So I have a lot of my clients, as well as a lot of the audience that's listening. They are already entrepreneurs or small business owners. But I know there's also people that maybe are in a job, whether it's corporate or just some other sort of job, and they realize that now that the dust has settled in their lives, that they've identified the discomfort or the just feeling of I'm not on the right path. And so stepping into that entrepreneurial space, or, embarking on that entrepreneurial journey sometimes is difficult. If somebody kind of has that unsettled feeling and they know that there's something else, maybe it is going off and doing your own thing. Is that something that you can kind of maybe guide somebody into how they can figure that out?
Yeah, I've helped people who are not really lost, but either changing careers or starting up a second career, or a third or fourth. We change careers often. Some people who have retired and now are feeling lost because they don't have anything to do. So there are lots of opportunities that I can consult with people like that. I have assessments that help them in career planning. I have tools that I've used to help people understand what motivates them, what's deep inside of them. How do they make decisions and move forward and work with others? And so this is all about the people business. It's about you as a person, how you work with other people, and how you become productive in the work that you do with others that you work with. So the more we know about ourselves and others, the more we can venture out and do things that we're passionate about and we can be successful about.
Yeah, absolutely. So now let's get into the hat situation, right? We have to wear all of these hats, but yet if we keep all of those hats on and we continue to do all of the different pieces, we end up by creating big problems, right? Because we can't do it all. And so how do we start bringing teams into our plan, and how are we able to take those teams and manage them correctly? I know that's probably like a huge multi-step answer that you have to share, but let's kind of just dive into teams a little bit.
Sure. Well, again, a team is there to help support you. Mm-hmm. And a team is not a group. A team is together for a common purpose. So if you're working a business, or even if you're not, you want a group of advisors or a team of advisors who will help advise you, who have good experiences. Talk to other people. Don't think you've got to be that captain on the ship all by yourself. You might be holding the wheel to steer the ship, or the rudder, but you also have a crew. You have people around you. And so surround yourself with people who know you, who like you, who want you to be successful, but yet who have information that can help you to succeed. I do more work with teams and not necessarily one-on-one, but there are great business coaches to find. There are people who have had similar experiences. There are organizations. SCORE in this area of the Western suburbs is a really strong organization that's willing to help not just entrepreneurs and not just business owners, but anyone. If you're job seeking, if you're looking for some place to go, there are lots of support groups and organizations to turn to. So again, you don't have to go this alone. There are people there who will be happy to help you. And some who will even do their services because they love what they're doing and not necessarily for fees.
Well, that's pretty much SCORE. Isn't that retired professionals? And is that a national organization, or is that local to the Chicagoland area?
No, it's a national organization. And but it's a very large organization in our area. And I know a lot of people who have had a great success with working with them. And they also, there's networking centers in the area and networking groups who are formed in order to help people with the support they need to be successful.
I worked with SCORE, probably almost 20 years ago now, when I started the Dynamic Professional Women's Network. And I took the one chapter and, created a corporation out of it. And then I had to have a business plan. And,
right.
The business plan really was a way for me to start identifying everything that's involved.
Right.
But I know SCORE was a really great resource for me. And I was partnered up with a mentor that kind of really spent a lot of time to help me put all of those pieces together.
Yeah, that's their purpose. And I can't say enough about putting a business plan together or
Yes.
journaling. Just write all your thoughts down so that you don't lose them and you can capture them and come back. And what are your themes and what are you continually thinking about? Is this telling you a message about what direction you should be going?
Yeah. Thinking about something and then thinking about it and actually writing it down is a complete different experience. And I
Sure
know
is.
for me, I have a lot of things going through my brain, but when I'm able to like journal them or, type, like I process a lot through actually creating.
Sure.
Even when I put websites together, it's helped me to actually like do it. Otherwise, there's a lot of stuff going through my head. Nobody
Well, we're
needs that.
taking in a lot of we're taking in a lot of modalities because we're thinking,
Yes.
we're talking, we're writing, we're reading about it. So we're taking it in through all of our
Senses.
ways that we process.
Yeah.
And that's important to do.
Yeah. So you actually have something that I'm really excited that you're sharing. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mentioned earlier that I use a lot of assessments in the work that I do, and not always the same one. But I have a two-part one that I thought your listeners would be interested in. It's called Talent Insights. And what it does is it gives you an opportunity to identify your strongest behavioral style and what your 4 primary motivators are that drive you to make the decisions that you make and to respond the way that you do in various situations.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm offering that for free. So
Oh,
not only
wow.
to take the assessment, but I'm happy to go through and consult with you, and we'll go page by page and talk about what it's all saying to the individual who's taken it.
Well, that's very generous, and I really appreciate that. And we will make sure that the link for you to get that report or that talent insight report or assessment is in the show notes below, as well as
Right.
the different ways for you to connect with Anna and visit her website, visit her on the different social channels, wherever it is that you are hanging out. Anna's there, and you can connect with her and see how she could possibly support you on your journey.
Yeah, and my email address is there, and please feel free to
Yes.
use it. Weselak@weselak.com.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, Anna. I really
My
enjoyed
pleasure.
this episode. This was fun to
It's good to
reconnect.
see you again.
You too. And thanks everybody for listening. If you learned something from Anna today, we encourage you to share that with somebody else, because we know if we teach something, we learn, not only does it help them, but it helps us retain and let that knowledge soak in. And of course, if you like our show, please go to whatever platform you listen and give us a review, give us some love, subscribe, do whatever you can to keep our show moving forward. We do this for you, but we can't do it without you. So do what you can to help us make the show even more successful. And thank you, Anna. And thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Christy.
All right. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where we believe that everyone can have the business and life of their dreams once they've learned the art of mastering their story. Mastering our stories is the key to everything we want in life. Our stories can either hold us back or they can propel us to new heights. We can choose. You can choose. Choose to overcome mediocrity with us. Let's achieve greatness together. To learn more, visit www.overcomingmediocrity.org. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast.